All right, and welcome to a special series of Realtor Fight Club called What Would You Do? And our guest today is Kristen English. Hey, Kristen.
Hey, good afternoon.
Hello. And Kristen is with Sotheby's in Louisville, Kentucky. So we'll get your contact information afterwards, Kristen, in case people have some referrals.
Great.
So, in this series of What Would You Do, it gets aired every Wednesday, and we discuss ethics and professional standards situations and see what we would do. All right, Kristen, you got a situation for us?
I've got a scenario for you.
Okay.
Okay. Realtor A has a house for sale, and it's been on the market a couple of weeks during COVID. So remember that.
Okay.
And Realtor B has a friend that he's known for a long time who decides he wants to move to Louisville. And so they decide to work together. He connects him with a mortgage lender like we do, to get him pre-qualified and so on and so forth. So buyer comes into town. He lives out of town. He comes into town and calls Realtor A off the sign, the person who
Okay.
has it listed, right? Are you following me?
Yep.
And says, "Oh, we've seen this house on Zillow. And so, we want to just see the inside. It's great. Could you show it to us?"
This is so common.
Yes, so common. And
Okay.
here's a couple things. So Realtor A happens to be out of town, and she says, "My colleague will show it to you. Give me your contact information. Are you working with an agent?" They say no, and get the contact information and set up a showing for the next day.
Okay.
The buyers see the house the next day. They love it. Yada, yada. We want to make an offer. The listing realtor says, "Well, you might want to think about it just a little bit and get back to me." They go to their friend who's also their agent that they've been talking to since, for about 4 or 5, 6 months. And they say,
But
"We
they
want
said
to."
they didn't have an agent.
Right. Well,
Okay.
that's a he said, she said. So do we really know? I don't know, but
Okay.
that's what was asked. So Realtor B writes an offer, shoots it over to the listing agent, Realtor A. And Realtor A is like, "Well, I'm checking out the name. This is kind of interesting, right? We've all had that before.
Right.
Hopefully, we hopefully you pick up the phone and you call Realtor." There's so many things that what would you do kind of comments that we can talk
Right.
about in a second. But anyway, the deal gets done and it closes. And then Realtor A decides, "Hey, I was procuring cause. So now I want all the commission." So and it's COVID. So Realtor B is kind of like, "Well, you're coming in from out of town. I can show it to you virtually, but our office isn't showing property." But we were all working in Louisville. It was we were considered essential. So
What is do you know off top the standard for procuring cause?
this was great. So Friday I was in class, and we talked about procuring costs because there have been some changes.
Okay.
It used to be that the person that carried the buyer over the threshold.
And
So
this
they would
is
call it,
national. I mean, people
this
need to
is
know this is like a
national.
national rule. This is not like a state by state.
No,
Okay,
this
you're
is
right. It used
national.
to be, okay.
Yeah. So this is NAR, and NAR is saying, there used to be that threshold cause. Whoever carried them over the threshold is the procuring cause. Now it states in the articles that if you have a relationship with a buyer, and you haven't abandoned them, and it gives a definition of what abandonment is, or
Okay.
estrangement, there's 3 different cases, or you as an agent have done something that makes the buyer incredibly uncomfortable, whether it's like weird postings on Facebook and, "Oh, I don't want to work with that agent anymore." Unless it's one of those 3 things, really the person with the longer standing relationship is who the procuring cause is,
Let
and
me
not
ask
who
you
carries
this.
them over
In
the
this
threshold.
scenario, did it say if either of the um, agents had a buyer contract with this client?
Right, and neither of them did.
Oh my God.
So that's another thing, yeah. So there was not a buyer exclusive, work
To
agency.
me, I mean, first of all, why would Realtor A say think about it if the client's like, I want to write an offer? Write the freaking offer.
Well, or maybe the client said, let us think about it. Who knows
Who
really?
knows? Okay.
So this is
So
a
let's
scenario,
just say, okay, so let's just say that in this situation, the buyer said whatever. Buyer said whatever the agent wanted to hear. So who has procuring cause? So procuring cause is defined as, well, if it's the new definition, but he didn't show them the property.
so there are a couple mistakes that in my opinion, that the buyer's agent, and I want to be careful on this, that the buyer's agent
A or B.
B,
Okay.
when how did he ask? Question is, did he ask his buyers, did you go inside? Did you see the house? Don't know. And if they said, yeah, we went in, then why? Then I think as agent B, if I were agent B, I would have said, oh, let me call buyer or listing agent A and say, hey,
Do they indicate
sorry,
they were
but
working with an
my buyer.
agent? Yeah, like I would want to know like the more of the communication piece of it. So like if agent B had a relationship and was actively working with this client, then
Mhm.
it seems like, but it has happened to
Yep.
me before where they
Yep.
just go rogue. Like we literally had a conversation and then the next second the buyer's like going rogue.
Well, and sometimes they go through open houses too. So, and again, I think as a listing agent, our number one duty is to try and get the house sold, not to have
Right.
commission breath and be like, I want both sides, I want both sides.
Right.
The idea is like, let's get this closed, which that is what listing agent A did. He's like, I want to get, all this closed, and then I'll go from there. Um,
I
bro,
think they're
buyer,
both in the wrong. I don't, but if we're talking about is it an ethics violation, if the definition of procuring cause is no longer the threshold, then I don't think agent A has an ethics violation. But is he due the commission? I feel like that's a different question.
Well, that's a good answer. I mean, that's a good question too. Like, what part or all or none do you think? There was not I don't think there was estrangement in this situation, if with the given the information, that we have, you and I.
Yeah.
Um, if there wasn't
It
any
doesn't seem like there's
estrangement,
estrangement because if there was, he wouldn't have called to have the offer written.
and why would the buyers have gone and had
Yeah, so I
their
agree. It
agent write
doesn't
about?
seem that there was estrangement.
Right.
But is buyer A or is seller list, oh my God, is realtor A due a commission because he showed the property? That's a hard one. I
It's a hard
mean,
one. So I had this situation this summer where I had a listing and I got a call off the sign, and I went and showed it to the safely. I took two friends with me because it was just somebody who called off the sign and the house was vacant.
yeah,
Um, so went and showed it. This person decided they did want to write an offer on it. I asked them several times if they had an agent, because I don't personally like to do dual agency, and I would have referred them to someone in my office.
hmm,
Um, so we sat down. I got proof of finance because it was going to be cash and all that. And then as we sat down to write the offer in my office, so I'd met him 1, 2, 3 times. He said, oh, well, I have a family agent that our family trust, blah, 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 has used in the past. And I said, whoop, let's get her on the phone. And so we worked it out where she gave me a referral fee for my time. And I'd spent more time than,
she
the
did.
case that we were just talking about, than agent A. Um, so I got what I would consider a nice referral from that agent, who then did write the offer, and we got the deal to close.
Yeah, I mean, I think this goes back to like, I mean, we've done podcasts on this before about like buyer consultations, and Monica and I somewhat disagree on this, but this is exactly why
Yeah.
you you have to do a buyer consultation and you need to
Yes.
get that damn contract signed that they're
Yeah.
working with you so they understand. And like part of our contract goes through like, what open houses for sale by owners, like new construction, calling the listing agent, like these are common scenarios and there's only a handful of them, especially now with desperate buyers. You've
Yes.
got to have the consultation and have the discussion. I think, in this case, I mean, agent, they all made mistakes.
Yes.
It's probably fair to do some type of commission split just to
Yeah.
like be nice, but like,
Yes.
is it an ethics violation? No,
No.
it's
No, it
not.
was not an ethics, but it was what would you do? What do you think's the right thing? And so much of it goes back to communication. Now I think that there had been
What? We should
communication.
communicate?
Yeah,
Kristen, you're
pick up the
crazy.
phone, voices, yeah, it goes back to communication. And I think that there are some mistakes that agent B made plus, and I don't know about agent A.
I mean, they all made mistakes.
Yeah.
Everybody did.
Yeah.
I mean, the biggest mistake is not getting the contract signed, that you're the representation for the buyer. Because
You know,
had that one of them done that, then
mhm,
there's no problem.
right. The interesting thing is that there are people that feel like that's a difficult thing to do because, especially if you're a new agent, you're so excited and so happy to even have a client
You don't have a
that
client if you don't
well, you
have a
have,
contract.
right. So you don't want to push them or seem thirsty. It's hard. I think it's a fine line because I want people to work with me because they want to work with me. And if they don't, then okay, but there
And
are
if
other
that's the
agents.
case, then if you show a bunch of houses and somebody else writes the contract, then you're not making the call. I don't
Right.
know.
It's
We're gonna
so,
fight about this,
right.
Kristen.
It's hard.
Well, that was a really good one. That one happens a
Really,
lot.
it really does. What was the aha moment for me on Friday during class was that whole threshold. And Jason Vaughn teaches a lot of our ethics classes. And, he said, this used to be whoever carried you over the threshold was the one who got the commission. And he's like, here it is. It's
It's
not,
not
not
anymore.
that way anymore. Yeah. So,
Wow. That's so, what I'm taking away from this is if you have clients that you're working with, make sure you stay in contact with them.
yep.
And well,
If
I
you
mean,
write an offer or you ask your clients, do you even ask your clients, how did you get inside the house?
right.
Yeah. Then you immediately call that listing agent and say,
Well,
hey,
I think too,
no,
a lot of listing agents make the mistake of just saying, like, are you working with an agent? And I don't really ask that question. I ask questions that what the answers will indicate to me, are they working with an agent? So,
mhm. Have
like,
you
how
been
many,
pre-qualified?
what's that?
Have you been pre-qualified? Have you met with
Right. A
a lender?
lender.
Hmm.
Who is it?
Yeah.
Like, yeah, I'm not going to show a house without pre-approval. And we did that. Like, that's like the first
Yeah.
podcast we did. That was like number one
Yes.
last or 2 years ago or whatever. So like, yeah, are you working? How many houses have you seen? Like, what did you know what I mean? If they've been in a lot of houses, the chances are that they have an agent.
Yeah.
Or just ask, who is your agent, not do you have one, and see what they say.
That's probably a better That's probably a better way to say it. Because when you say, do you have an agent? Then they go, am I saying the right answer or the wrong answer?
Right.
Like if I say I have an agent, then they're not going to want to show me the house.
Right. Exactly.
But if I say I don't, yeah,
Yeah.
who's your
So
agent
who's
is
your
a better
agent?
question.
Well, that's what
That's
I do to
good.
tenants when I am pre-screening them. I ask, what do they smoke instead of do they smoke? It depends on the property, but like, it's kind of funny sometimes. Like if it's like, anyway, it's funny. I'm waiting for somebody to be like, crack, but nobody said that yet.
Oh,
Anyway, we
that's
appreciate you
funny.
being on. That was a
Thank
really
you.
good scenario, really relevant. If somebody has a referral in Louisville, I want to say it right. What's the right way? Louisville.
There's like 8 ways to say it. I say Louisville.
Oh, you say it the Yankee way.
I kind of do say the Yankee way, but a lot of people say Louisville.
Louisville. All right. If
Louisville.
they have one for
Louisville.
Louisville, Kentucky, what is the best way to get a hold of you?
It's Kristen English at Lenihan Sotheby's. My number is 502-417-8008. I've got Facebook, Instagram, and
You're everywhere, girl.
website, all that stuff that
That's
we need to
awesome.
have.
Send those referrals. And of
Yay.
course, if anybody's interested in learning more about EXP, they can call my cell, which is 513-400-1691. All right. Thanks a lot, Kristen.
All
Have a good
right.
day.
You too. See you later.